What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Nate here from Out of the Basement, joined with Steven.
What's up, guys?
And today we are going to be giving our spoiler-free thoughts on Hellraiser Judgment. This, of course, is the 10th installment in the Hellraiser franchise. Just came out today on Blu-ray and video on demand, so we rented it and we watched it, and we've got some things to say about it.
Some thoughts, some opinions.
Not necessarily good things, not necessarily bad things, but a little context to our Hellraiser background. I've seen the first two movies, and I've also seen Hellraiser Inferno and Hellraiser Revelations, which was the last one, which was insufferable. What about you, Steve?
I've seen 1 and 2, and then bits and pieces of Hellworld.
Nice.
So
Evils, or wait, no, that's the wrong one. They all blend together at some point.
Evils in the movie should be the tagline of all of them.
There's evil in this one.
There's evil afoot.
So, of course, it's been a long time since we've got another Hellraiser movie. This movie was trapped in development hell
Shake my hand.
for a long time. So it finally is here, and we checked it out, like I said, and let's just jump right into the review. Another Hellraiser movie without Doug Bradley as Pinhead, but this time it wasn't as bad as whatever the hell that other guy was doing that was playing Pinhead in the last movie. And we got a little worried before we started checking out this movie because the writer of Hellraiser Revelations is the director of Hellraiser Judgment. But let's jump into the review. We'll talk about some positives first and then get into our negatives with the film. Steve, you want to start us out with some positives?
Positivity is our MO here on Out of the Basement. So we will start out with some positives. First being the new addition of the new Cenobite, the Auditor.
Yes.
I thought his makeup was very cool. His look.
He is easily the best actor,
Yes.
period, in the movie. He kind of seems like he's the only guy that's really giving a shit.
Yeah.
Everyone else is just kind of like, here we are.
So here we go again.
Awesome.
We're very happy to be here.
Yes, especially the three leads.
Yeah, and I also think he has the best lines of dialogue in the whole movie, but that's not really saying too much.
Yeah.
And another positive is probably the dialogue that the Auditor and Pinhead speak.
Yeah.
They're given the most interesting lines. I wouldn't go as far to say as they're quotable and they're new classic.
Yeah, there were definitely some good quotable moments, but overall I felt like a lot of the dialogue really was just trying to, like wink and a nod to the other movies. Like they definitely threw in a bunch of classic Pinhead lines, and I don't know if this is like, is this the first time that they've ever mentioned calling Pinhead? Like the one woman straight up says it to him, and I'm like, I feel like that's never been a thing, but I'm not for I don't know 100%. Comment down below if you know. Like I said, I've only seen 4 Hellraiser movies, so I can't be 100% on that, but I thought that sounded a little strange.
It almost, I think maybe she's calling him that as an insult.
Could be.
That's probably not his real name. Same with the other Cenobites. That's just what the writers and directors called them.
No Butterball? Really?
Yeah, Butterball. That name's not canon. Sorry.
Where's my Butterball boy?
Yeah, no butter. There is an old school original Cenobite that makes an appearance in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know if he's in the trailer or not, but we don't want to spoil it because it was a nice little surprise. One of the very few moments in this movie where I was like, "Oh, cool," instead of being like, "Can this please just be over with?"
Yeah, and there are also another pair of Cenobites in this movie that I believe have appeared in previous Hellraiser movies. And if they haven't, then tell me how stupid I am in the comments.
Do that. See me? I wasn't going to mention it. And finally, our last positive is that the effects were pretty good for the most part.
Surprisingly good.
Yeah.
I didn't expect anything effects-wise from this, but when I saw the trailer, I was like, It looks pretty good.
You can definitely tell that this movie is extremely low budget because almost every single scene takes place indoors.
Yeah.
Which is obviously a key sign of low budget because shooting outside in the daylight is hard to do. The effects, the makeup effects for like Pinhead and the other Cenobites all looked really good. The gore was pretty good. There was really only one shot that was like particularly bad, and it was like at the end of the movie, someone gets killed in like a very similar fashion to how Frank does in the first movie, and they even quote the same line of dialogue and say Jesus wept, which was a very eye-rolling moment. But it was a CG face getting ripped apart, and it just looked terrible. It looked really bad.
Yep.
That's pretty much all we've got to say that's good about the movie.
Well, and there was some really good gross out shots. They were like gross in the best way possible. So that's about it. That's where the good stops.
Yeah.
And the horse shit begins.
And the absolute horse shit begins. For a Hellraiser movie, a big lack of hell raising going on. There wasn't a lot of torture or gore in the movie. There was really only 2 scenes for the most part that were actually like some Cenobite-esque torturing going on.
And you got to imagine that's just probably because of the low budget.
Yes.
But
the surrounding story is just terrible. It's generic. It's everything that you've ever seen in some sort of like NBC cop drama where they're trying to find a serial killer and he's on the loose. And I'm just like, how many times am I gonna have to watch a movie where that's the plot?
And you got your straight cop who's very lawful, and then you've got the loose cannon who's got PTSD and really doesn't give a shit anymore and hates his wife. And then you've got the newbie that comes in who's just kind of mediating the two a little bit. And you're exactly right. You hit the pin on the head when you said that is just like a Chicago PD on whatever channel.
And it is acted like that as well. The acting is also not very good from our 3 leads. A lot of expository dialogue that is just thrown at you and it's like the cops are talking about stuff, and like if you were a trained police officer you would know these things in your head, but since there's like the crooked cop kind of acts like an audience member and he gives a lot of, so what does that mean? And then they just over-explain it to you because you're a stupid member of the audience and you don't understand cop drama.
Yeah, and these 3 detectives should be noted that they are the world's worst detectives and the most unprofessional.
They don't wear gloves when they're investigating crime scenes. And it sounds like a real nitpicky thing, but like, come on, that is the least you could do. When they're literally digging through someone's corpse with no gloves on, getting blood all over themselves. Like, no police officer or no detectives would ever do that.
They're at a crime scene at one point, and the female detective is just touching everything with bare hands, no gloves. They're flipping the lights on. And
when they find that envelope and she's just like, huh, what's this? And just grabs it and she's like, oh, maybe this is evidence.
We got to send it back to the lab. And then when they get the lab results back and they're like, your fingerprints are all over it. You're going down.
That's what would happen. Instead, we get the generic medical examiner wearing a Hawaiian t-shirt.
Yeah, I wish that would have happened. My plot line that I just came up with. It would have spiced things up a little bit.
Also, Heather Langenkamp from Nightmare on Elm Street is randomly in the movie in the most pointless, wasted cameo of all time. She's in the movie for approximately 5 seconds, I'd say. And
couldn't be any more than that. Maybe, if we're being generous,
and
maybe 20 seconds at the most.
The first shot you see her in, half of her face is covered in shadow, and then the other shot that she's in, you're only seeing half of her face. So it's like, if you don't really know what Heather Langenkamp looks like, it's a blink and you'll miss it, and it just seems really pointless considering that she also was not in any Hellraiser movies at all.
They were just like clamoring for like, we got to get at least some actor from some horror movie in this movie just to be like, oh.
Because we all know Doug Bradley told them to fuck off when they came to him for this script. So
I'm Team Doug.
Yeah, I can see why he didn't want to do this movie, even though the Hellraiser movies he has done are pretty shitty too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, come on. But there's a lot of like random blurry effects. It seemed like this movie was edited by an amateur. definitely there was just a lot of like really weird things, like too much reliance on the blurry effect when like characters are like, "Oh, I'm so out of it." It literally happens in so many scenes, and then that terrible drone shot.
It was completely unnecessary. It's like 2 seconds long.
It is like a 2-second transitional shot to like establish that they're in a different location, but it is just like a 240p drone shot that just looked abysmal, and it's so quick. It's like they should have just taken that out of the movie. It literally made no sense, and it looked awful. And Steve and I just looked at each other and just started laughing. Unbelievable. So.
And at the end of the movie, there is a twist, as some movies tend to have on occasion.
A real eye roller.
Oh man, and it is bad because when it finally gets revealed, it's just like, really,
like that's it
for real. And then it has to go back and show you all the foreshadowing that you missed. That it's so subtle and doesn't make any sense that it's like, no wonder we missed it, because it's stupid. And I feel like they just kind of like tacked this on at the last minute.
It came out of nowhere, and there's absolutely no like real payoff because you've barely met any of these characters, so you have no stake in anyone to begin with. So when it turns out like what the twist is, you're just like, okay, like cool, I guess. But yeah, and they also try and dump a bunch of like new lore on you. In this movie, like you ever been watching a franchise for 9 installments and then they just start dumping brand new lore on you out of nowhere? Because that's what happens in this movie.
Obviously, the Hellraiser films deal with hell a lot. They even go to hell in one of the films. So there's the opposite side of the coin shows up in this movie, and not good.
Yeah, not
good
at
all.
Pretty annoying. Also, there's one character who's a Cenobite, I guess, but he doesn't have any makeup on.
Yeah, I feel like they're just like, we can't do it.
Yeah, they just put like a blazer jacket over him, and that was it. And I was just like, oh, did we run out of money for this costume?
They didn't even have enough money to fully clothe this man.
Yeah, because he doesn't even have an undershirt on. He's literally just wearing a blazer. And that's it.
And they didn't have the foresight to be like, just grab something out of your closet, dude, and just bring it to the set. Like, we are out of money.
He showed up on set naked, and they were like, dude, we don't have anything.
It's in my contract. You've got to clothe me.
So overall, despite the negatives that we have, this movie is definitely leaps and bounds better than the last Hellraiser movie, but that was not that hard to top. So I think this could be a step in the right direction. However, we are definitely taking baby steps. Steve, if you had to throw a score on this bad boy, what would you give it?
Probably, like, I don't want to be too harsh on it because it was just the story that was terrible and the acting was really bad, but the special effects alone and the little scenes that we got with the Cenobites and stuff were really cool.
Enjoyable.
So I would almost appreciate it if they would have just made this like a little short film or something to release on the internet with just the scenes with, like, you know, in the house and with Pinhead and whatnot. So with that said, probably like a 4.5, like a strong 4.5, because the story was just so bad that it really doesn't forgive all the special effects, despite the fact that they were pretty good.
Yeah, and I'd go ahead and give it a 5 out of 10. Just a middle of the road horror movie. You know, thankfully it's only an hour and 20 minutes long, super short. You're in and you're out, so it's not that painful. But at the end of the day, I think Hellraiser fans will find some enjoyment out of this. But people who aren't interested in the Hellraiser movies are probably not going to have a good time with this one at all.
This isn't where to start.
So, with that being said, that's our review of Hellraiser Judgment. What did you guys think? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? We'd like to know your opinion. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new to the channel. We're always talking about movies, action figures, comic books, all that good nerdy stuff you love to hear about on the internet. Of course, I'm Nate. I've been joined with Steven.
See you later, guys.
You've been watching Out of the Basement, and we will see you next time.
mics here.
Fucking mic. Give me a mic, y'all! Give me a mic, y'all! I'll practice my Fred Durst impersonations while we wait. So what you wanna do? It's fucked up me. It fucked up you. I was practicing my Fred Durst while you were gone.
I heard you.
It's going pretty well.
It's very loud.
It's going pretty well.